On many mornings before the bright lights of today flicker to life, Craig Melvin sits quietly in the studio lounge with a cup of coffee and a stack of overnight headlines, preparing himself not just to deliver the news, but to carry the emotional weight of a world that often feels uncertain. And in those reflective moments, he sometimes finds his thoughts drifting away from politics, international conflicts, and economic forecasts towards something far closer to his heart. His role as a father and husband, a role that grows increasingly meaningful as the world outside the studio continues to change. For viewers who have watched Craig's steady presence on morning television for years, his calm voice and thoughtful demeanor have become a familiar part of their daily routine. Yet behind that composed broadcast presence lies the quiet balancing act of a man navigating two demanding worlds: the responsibility of informing a nation and the deeply personal commitment of raising children who are growing up in an era shaped by rapid change and constant information. When the cameras shut off and the newsroom quiets down, Craig often returns home to conversations with his wife, Lindsay Charniak, a respected journalist and sports broadcaster whose own career has given her an intimate understanding of the pressures that come with public life. And together, they share a perspective that few families truly understand: the challenge of parenting under the soft but persistent glare of public attention, while maintaining a sense of normalcy for their children. Evenings in their home often unfold with a comforting rhythm: dinner at the table, stories about the day, laughter over small family moments, and occasionally thoughtful discussions about the stories Craig covered that morning. Stories that reflect the shifting landscape of the modern world. Sometimes their children ask questions sparked by something they heard at school or glimpsed on television, and in those moments, Craig feels the delicate responsibility of explaining complex global events in ways that nurture understanding without overshadowing the simple joys of childhood. It is a balance that resonates deeply with many viewers in their 60s who raised families during their own eras of uncertainty, understanding that every generation of parents must learn how to guide their children through changing times while preserving the values that endure. Craig often reflects that journalism, at its heart, is not just about delivering information, but about helping people make sense of the world around them. And that philosophy extends naturally into his parenting, where curiosity and compassion are encouraged just as strongly as academic success. Lindsay, whose own experiences reporting from stadiums and newsrooms across the country have shaped her outlook, often reminds him that children learn most from what they see rather than what they are told. And together, they try to model the qualities they hope their children will carry into adulthood: integrity, kindness, and an awareness of the broader world beyond their own front door. On weekends, when the pace of broadcasting finally slows, Craig sometimes takes quiet walks with his family through their neighborhood, moments that feel refreshingly ordinary compared to the whirlwind of the news cycle. And it is during these walks that he often feels the greatest sense of gratitude for the life he has built, one that blends professional purpose with personal devotion. He knows that millions of viewers see him as a trusted guide through the headlines of the day. Yet at home, he is simply a father, helping with homework, sharing stories from his childhood, or listening patiently as his children describe their own small victories and disappointments. These ordinary moments have become increasingly precious as the years pass, reminding him that while the world may grow more complicated with each passing news cycle, the fundamentals of family life remain wonderfully constant. Occasionally, when a particularly difficult story dominates the broadcast, a humanitarian crisis overseas, a natural disaster affecting thousands, or a political event that stirs strong emotions, Craig carries the weight of those stories with him long after leaving the studio. And it is Lindsay who gently helps him put those experiences into perspective, encouraging him to remember that the purpose of journalism is not merely to document events, but to illuminate humanity within them. Her support has become a quiet anchor in his life, offering reassurance during the inevitable moments when the demands of public responsibility feel overwhelming. For the audience that has grown older alongside many familiar television personalities, there is something deeply reassuring about watching someone like Craig navigate these roles with sincerity, acknowledging that even those who appear on screen each morning are still learning, still growing, and still striving to balance the responsibilities of career and family. As the years unfold, Craig increasingly recognizes that his greatest legacy may not rise solely in the stories he reports or the interviews he conducts, but in the example he sets for his children, showing them that meaningful work and loving family life need not exist in opposition, but can instead strengthen one another. And so, on the mornings when he steps onto the studio floor and the cameras begin to roll, Craig carries with him not only the responsibility of informing a nation, but also the quiet inspiration of the family waiting for him at home. A reminder that beyond every headline and every broadcast lies the simple, enduring truth that the world we report on each day is the same world we are raising our children to inherit. And perhaps the most important stories we tell are the ones we live through patience, compassion, in the steady hope that tomorrow will bring understanding as well as change.